One.
There's always something new to learn, and here in Rogue Kitchen, we learn by playing with our food. It's Rogue Kitchen Live. Hello, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. We've got a couple of great recipes today. We're going to do a butternut squash soup with a crab salsa, and then Jimmy is going to do a really, really simple chicken and dumpling soup. So can't wait to see that one. Man, it's actually a great day for that one. Kind of wish I was
It's
in
good
his
week.
kitchen.
Good week for soups.
Oh, definitely a great week for soups. And of course, this week is we're kind of featuring some seasonal soups. And so yeah, we're going to start off by kind of breaking down a butternut squash. Only we won't go through the process of peeling it because nobody wants to do that. So
It'll take a finger up or two.
Yeah, and it just takes, so much effort, I think, to peel butternut squash. And I remember one time I was working for a corporate caterer, and we had to do large amounts of food. And a couple of times, right, like once every 2 weeks, we had to do butternut squash, and we had to do like 50 pounds of butternut squash, and peeling it and cutting it, and then doing something with it, roasting it or whatever. And you got all the other sides to do too. It's just it's maddening. So anyway, we're just gonna do we're going to split it in half and then scoop out the seeds. We'll score it, and I'll explain why we score squash, and then just pop it in the oven and let it roast. So it's really, really simple. This is a really simple recipe. We're just going to add some onions and garlic and some simple spices. With it being fall and wintertime, we're going to kind of load it up with some cinnamon, some clove, a little bit of nutmeg, and get some of those nice little seasonal spices in there. And of course, we'll have some aromatics like our thyme as well, and even throw in some ginger there too. So should be delicious. Great night for that kind of a soup. So Jimmy, you want to tell us about your soup?
Yeah, 1 second. I'm gonna come back on here. Yeah, so this is kind of a staple for us in the Webb household, or at least it was before we kind of went low carb, but every once in a while it's still a good one for us. Mostly because during the week, this literally takes maybe 10-15 minutes to get it in the pot. We're using canned biscuits for dumplings. The rotisserie chicken, we're just sauteing up some carrots, onions, the Mirepoix, and getting that going. And it's just super simple, super easy. And you can have it, from start to finish in 45 minutes or so. And my kids love it. My wife loves it, and I love it. So it's good, solid.
That's great.
Weekday fall soup.
You know what? And thank goodness for rotisserie chickens, right?
I know. I love rotisserie chickens.
They are great. You go to Costco, you want a big one. You go to King Soopers or Walmart, you get kind of the smaller ones there, even Whole Foods or something. But man, it has so many uses. And really, in our house, we sometimes just like to get a big Caesar salad kit and rotisserie chicken. Super simple. And it's great for a quick meal. But yeah, I love having a rotisserie chicken around. That's great. In fact, some of you might remember our very first show, we used a rotisserie chicken in that curry dish we had there. So yeah, that's great. All right. Well, I'm going to start by breaking down this butternut squash. So here we've got one. This one's probably about 3 pounds, I would say. So, and again, we could cut the bulb off the neck here, right? This would be the neck here, the bulb here, all right? And, that's the official terminology for it. That's what I call it. We could separate those two and then take a knife or even a peeler, right? We could peel all the skin off there and then go through and, we could chunk that up or dice it up or whatnot. So, but here I'm just going to split this thing right in half. So.
Yeah, so Kathy says she uses a carrot peeler, and it's not too bad. And yeah, you can use a carrot peeler. That works pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I just pulled this out of the drawer here, but y'all know that that Jimmy and I like using these little Y peelers here, and these are great. They stay fairly sharp throughout their lifetime, and it's, it is a good tool to use to peel off that skin there. So, all right. So what I'm going to do here is, you can see the squash kind of curves here a little bit. So I'm going to lay it down so that way it curves upward like this, and then we get a nice even split. Okay. If I turn it over and try to cut it like this, if I cut it along this way, right, we're going to get two uneven pieces, and they aren't going to roast at the same time. Okay. So if I cut it this way though, all right, now we'll have two even pieces. So the way I do this here, I'm going to have to turn my computer down here a bit.
Yeah, we almost need a third camera for you over there.
Uh-oh.
What's that?
Oh, you don't see my phone camera?
Oh, no, your phone camera's there. I was just saying we almost need a third one for you over in the Rice household.
Yeah, almost, huh? I know, one like right up above the computer or right above me or something. So, okay. So I like to go about where the neck hits the bulb here. All right. And I insert my knife there. So I'm going to turn it around and this way here. All right. And again, I want to kind of visualize a center line there. All right. And I take the knife and I go straight up and down and just pierce right through that squash. All right. And then firmly holding the squash down on this side. Okay. Because if I don't, it's going to pop up. Right. And yes, I went all the way through. You can see the tip of the knife there, just a little bit there. So you go all the way through, but holding the squash down here, and I pull the knife towards the end of the bulb there. All right.
Yeah, so you're using the top of that to kind of leverage the knife, right? So
that's right. That's correct. Yep.
Cool.
All right. Then I'm going to turn the squash 180 degrees here. All right, and then insert the knife at that same starting point. And I'm just going to go back the other direction up the neck. All right, and this is going to be kind of at a funky angle here, and I just cut down that center line until I split the squash in half. And sometimes getting past that stem part is a little tricky. So, but
yeah, that's always
work it down a
very
end
of the root and that stem part are always the hardest.
Yeah, definitely. But now we've got kind of two equal parts there. All right. So now at this point, we can use a spoon to scoop out our seeds and our kind of the guts, if you will, of the squash. But I'm going to use a little ice cream scoop. These things work great.
Oh, there you go.
Multi-use here on there here. So I'm going to take that and in fact, the same chef who made me break down 50 pounds of butternut squash showed me how to use that. So, all right, here we go. So scoop out our guts and our seeds here. All right, there, nice and clean. We done. Boom. All right, and we'll just discard all that, or we put it into our compost bin, which is outside at the moment. So we'll just, and I don't think you can roast these seeds up, not like our pumpkin seeds. All right, discard those two tools. So now you can see on the squash here, we have this really dense, thick, solid part of the squash here. The bulb part is fairly thin. The meat or the flesh is thin here. So that's not going to take any time to roast. But here, right, the heat has to get all the way through that, both from the bottom and through the top. All right, and that's going to take a long time. But if we take our knife and if we score some lines here in our squash, okay, maybe about 1/8 of an inch thick or maybe about 1/4 of an inch thick here, all right, what we do is...
How deep are you going down in there?
About 1/8 of an inch or so. So if we score some lines in there, all right, what happens is as the squash heats up, okay, and I'll show you I have a squash already done, okay, those lines will kind of separate, and that allows the heat to get inside and the steam to escape from the squash, and then that'll allow you to have your squash done in about 45 minutes, okay. We're going to make a couple lines here. All right. And always please keep in mind too, these things rock back and forth. There's really no flat surface like that. It's not going to stay solid like that would. But, so you definitely want to make sure that you know where your hand is and that you control your knife. A lot of times people will kind of hold their knife handle like this, and that your knife kind of goes all over the place. But if you choke up on the knife, that allows you to control it a little bit more and reduce the risk of injury, I guess, if you will. But we want to definitely hold our squash very firm here. All right. Again, we want to control our knife. Just you kind of have to kind of push the knife with pressure, downward pressure into the flesh of the squash and make a couple of score lines here. All right. And that'll allow us then to allow that heat to get down inside of our squash. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and pull out these other two squash that I've got, or this other one that I have. We're going to check it. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Look at that. See? Oh, yeah. You can see how the lines have kind of separated out there a little bit, have it kind of opened up. All right.
Oh, yeah. It allows that heat in there.
Yeah, it allows that heat to get inside of there. Okay.
You can see the steam coming off.
Yeah. All right. And I think we're good to go on those. So I'm going to set these guys aside here. You get these other squash in the oven. And then what I'll do with this is I'll make tonight anyway, I'll make the soup with that roasted stuff there, and this when it's done roasting, I'll package that up and we'll freeze it and we'll use it at a later date. So okay. Now because it's coming straight out of the oven, kind of want to let this cool down a little bit. These things are screaming hot, so I'm just going to set them over here where it's a little bit cooler here. And all right, and we kind of move on to the rest of the mise en place for this. And really, it's really simple. Again, it's just dicing an onion. All right. You all know that I like kind of dicing the onion in kind of an unconventional way. Just going to cut that guy in half.
Radial dice, right?
Yeah, not necessarily the classical radial dice on there, but I like to cut these in little rainbows, and I love it when onion skin sticks. So fun.
Now be careful. I have actually done it myself and worked with someone while I was peeling like a whole case of onions.
Yeah.
I went to go use my fingernail to kind of get one of those off that was stuck on there.
Yeah.
And it got jammed under my fingernail.
Ooh.
And then ended up getting like swollen, and by the end of the night was hurting, and I was able to clean mine out, but my coworker ended up getting an infection under his fingernail. So
from an onion skin. Ouch. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Ow. All right. Yeah, and peeling by daily onions is not fun either, because those skins do not come off very easily.
Yeah. And so real quick, the squash went in the oven at what temperature?
Yep.
And you said 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, so I've got mine in. Well, the oven here is set at 400 degrees. 400? But you can do it. Yeah, you could bake it 375 to 400 for about 45 minutes. That's kind of about how long this one took. And when I tell you what, here, let me show you when it's done.
I would say, is there like a fork test we can do?
Yeah, so I've got your typical butter knife here, and I just put it down inside of there, and it easily pierces the flesh of the butternut squash. So that's how you know it's done. It just with a little bit of pressure, it goes down inside of there and pierces the flesh. If you try to do that on a raw butternut squash or an undercooked, you really have to shove it down in there, and it wouldn't be ready. So that's how you know that you are ready to pull it out of the oven there. So. All right, so we're just going to dice up our onion here. And here we don't need any kind of perfect dice or anything, or any kind of uniform cut, really.
Yeah, because this is going in a puree, right?
Yeah, we're going to end up pureeing this guy, or this soup here. So you don't really need uniform cuts, not like if you're wanting to show your onions in a dish or something. So, all right, so now I'm going to turn on my pot here. Should have done that before I started dicing the onion. That's all right. We're going to start with about 2 tablespoons here of butter. Okay, you can always use oil. Actually, I've had a butternut squash with coconut oil too. That's
Oh yeah,
pretty tasty.
yeah. It
So
gives
you
a
could definitely use
little,
coconut oil.
yeah, just a little bit of that coconut flavor. Not too much, but kind of gives it that
Sure. Yeah.
almost little sweetness to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wait for that pot to heat up there. Let me talk about our sachet here. So, and not the sachet you dance with.
Just
But anyway, okay. So in our sachet here, we have some thyme, we have clove, we have some grated ginger here. Okay, and here I'll put it all going the same direction. Okay, we just kind of bunch this thing up into like a little purse like thing. All right, and we'll have cinnamon and nutmeg that are ground, so we'll end up putting those in separately. But I like to make a little slip knot here. All right, wrap around the two fingers, and then just make a little loop here like so. You bring this end then through the loop like so. You tighten that guy up. Now you've got a little slip knot. Okay, make it big enough then to get around the top of our sachet here. You want to make sure you get all those ends together.
Yeah, you don't want to go through all that work just for it to open up in your soup, and then you have to fish it all out later.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that, especially the cloves and stuff. You don't want to.
Yeah.
Definitely want all of that. And then we're gonna have it's kind of long for what we need. All right, but we need a little bit of length here so that we can tie one end to our pot handle. And the other piece this will sit down inside the pot. Then we're done. We can pull it out and set it off to the side or cut it off. All right, but then we don't have to go fishing for this. We can just pull on the string and pull the sachet right out.
But do make sure you cut off the end after you tie it to the handle, because I have seen a sachet go up in flames and just catch on fire from it hanging down into the flame.
Yeah. All right, so our butter's melted here, so I'm going to go ahead and add our onion. Okay. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt here to help draw out the moisture in our onions here to get them started, to get them cooking and started.
Yeah, and so hold on. So real quick, that's something we should talk about, because I was talking about with a couple friends.
Okay.
And so a friend of mine has this issue of like not seasoning it enough. He feels like, because every time he cooks, he's always worried about like it not being salty enough. But then you add salt at the end, and then it just tastes like salt. So salt in recipes definitely serve multiple functions. One, yes, for the sodium, for the flavor, but for two, like what you were just saying, where you're drawing out the liquids from the onion and whatever it is that you're sautéing. So it serves as a function of like pulling all those liquids out together, so you can really get a uniform flavor and like just a really good deep mix of flavors from everything, right? And so the more you season as you cook, just a little bit here and there, the better everything really kind of comes together.
Yeah, and then it's less seasoning at the end, and you kind of build that seasoning as you go. And so then when you season at the end, it doesn't just taste like salt or per se.
Yeah.
So
the seasoning at the end should really just be like fine tuning.
Yeah. Yep. And also, Jimmy, you know what I like to think too, like as we season here, we are pulling out this moisture. We don't want these onions to be caramelized. I mean, you could definitely caramelize them, but your soup would be more brown and not that bright orange color. And so when you add the seasoning and you pull out that moisture, it kind of sweats it, right? So it kind of protects the onion, because you have a lot of moisture in there. That heat is trying to evaporate that moisture that the salt is pulling off, and so you don't caramelize your onions then. And really what you're doing is you're making the onions translucent color you see in a lot of recipes. And that's what causes that. So, all right. So we're getting down to where we need to be. So now we need to scoop out the pulp of our butternut squash. And I like to use a heavy duty spoon here. Like if you look at a kind of your typical soup spoon and kind of a scooping spoon. This is like a serving spoon that I like to use. But I like
Did you
to have
say a
utility
scoopier
spoons.
spoon?
A scoopier spoon, yeah. But I kind of like to have utility spoons in the kitchen here. So, all right, this guy is still pretty warm, so I'm gonna try to hold this in a towel here and try not to let the towel hit the flame. But now we're just gonna scoop out our pulp here, and a lot of times what we can do too is like this. As we scoop this here, the peel will come right off sometimes, like as we scoop these out. So if you get some of that brown mixture in there, that's fine. Just we'll add a little bit of roasty flavor to your soup there. And whoop, I have to dig that guy out. All right, so scoop this out. And then sometimes we kind of just resort to peeling off the peel here if we can, but I think kind of breaks up on you a little bit. There we go. I want to make sure we don't get any peel in there. Nobody wants that. All right, so I'll just scoop that in there. Oop. I'm struggling with this today, Jimmy. Right.
Well, you know, every butternut squash cooks differently, and like sometimes one side it will just not cook as much, or like one piece just doesn't get the right heat and it gets kind of stuck to the skin. So
yeah. All right, I'm going to turn my heat down here. We're kind of get some color on our onions that we don't want. So, all right. So now we'll scoop out the rest of this guy. Okay.
Whew. All right, while you're doing that, I'm just going to start dicing some of my stuff.
All right.
You can keep going, but I'm just going to be on the side working over here.
Okay, sounds all right. Sounds good. So we'll just sugar stir up our onions here. And okay, there we go. We're going to get all of our skin off of there. We got all of our pulp. And we're going to get the second one here. All right. Same concept here. We'll just scoop all this stuff out. Man, hands aren't as tough as they used to be.
Losing your kitchen hands?
Yeah, losing my kitchen hands. It's okay.
Just go stick them on a skillet every once in a while.
Yeah, I kind of have
kill those nerve
abuse
endings.
them every now and again. Yeah. All right. So on this, we could have probably, as I'm scooping through this, that knife pierced the flesh fairly easily. Probably could have.
Maybe a little bit longer, you're thinking?
Yeah, probably could have roasted a little bit longer, especially on that more solid part there. All right, we'll pull that off there. And our squash is a little bit sticky too.
All right.
Okay, so, and then to this, we'll add our cinnamon. And then we'll add some chicken stock. You could do vegetable if you'd like. I want that richness of the chicken stock. And some veg stocks kind of have a weird brown color to them. We'll kind of turn this soup a little brown, and I don't really want that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the neutral color of chicken stock, but I like the flavor it gives. All right. Whew, that's over. Okay, done with that. Now, give this a little stir here, get our butternut squash all stirred up in there. And then get our, we had that butter in there too, so we want to cover our butternut squash with the butter too. All right, so now we take our cinnamon. We want to add about an eighth of a teaspoon or so of this. We don't want too much. We don't want that cinnamon really overpowering. Same thing with the nutmeg. We definitely you watch those tops on the nutmegs there. Man, if those things come off,
Yeah.
it's not going to be fun. So, but I like to hold on to those little tops sometimes, and you just kind of want a little sprinkling here of nutmeg. I'm not a big nutmeg fan. Well, sometimes
Yeah,
like,
but yeah, I'm not a huge fan either, but it really serves a very specific purpose, and too much is too much for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But all right. The hotel I worked at, sometimes I felt like we seasoned our mashed potatoes too heavily with nutmeg.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan of nutmeg and mashed potatoes. I like it in bechamel. I like it in pumpkin pie. I like it in, where it's supposed to be.
Certain things. Yeah. It's a classical German thing, maybe putting nutmeg into mashed potatoes. So, all right. Yeah. So now I'm tying my sachet here. We're just going to double knot it really quick. Okay. All right. And see, now we can pull our sachet out later on. All right. So we'll drop that in the pot. Take our chicken stock here. All right. And we want this to cover our butternut squash by about an inch.
You want the whole thing submerged, correct?
Yeah, and we're going to have some evaporation, but then we also need liquid to puree at the end to help us puree the soup at the end.
Yep.
So, and I'll show you. We'll kind of test it here as we go. But all right, so now we just let that come up, and if we need to season it up with our spices too, later on, we can definitely do that. So, Jimmy, with that, over to you, I believe.
Cool. All right. Well, I got our scene on all cameras. So we got your computer and your device and my computer and my device. What I'm doing, I'm just going through and dicing up my Mirepoix. So celery, carrots, and onions. The recipe that we'll post in the chat calls for about 2 carrots, 2 medium-sized carrots, 2 celery, and 1 onion. I like a lot more veg, so a lot of times I change it up and add a little extra. And so we're actually going to cut, my kids like rounds, and just kind of fun in the soup. So with carrots, we're just going to cut it into rounds. Cut them into smaller, manageable pieces, go 2 at a time. Did the same radial dice you did on the onions. Now you do want a little bit more uniformity in this just because we're not going to be pureeing. So this is, we're going to be sauteing all this together, and you want there's going to be some small rounds, some big rounds, but we want them all about the same thickness, right? So we'll get those all going. And so, this is really just a really easy recipe. I'm just going to power through all this. We'll get it sauteing. While I'm dicing here, my pot over here is warming up. I think we have similar pots going. Let me raise this up a little bit.
You have your Dutch oven there?
Yep.
I like this pot.
Yeah, and so with my Dutch oven, I like to keep it on low, just to get the whole thing hot slowly. And then start cooking in it. Crank it up a little bit. So adding butter. I think the recipe calls for about 1/4 of a stick. So about 1 ounce. I like butter, so I'm going to go with a little extra. So we're going to get that going. As soon as I get these carrots in, we're going to get those sauteing with that. And with this, similarly, we don't want a whole lot of color. We're just kind of sweating all this together. I mean, you could go with caramelization, but really we want more just kind of to sweat all those juices out of everything and pull it together into a soup.
We really want the kind of the true essence of the vegetable, and we don't really want that caramelized flavor to interfere with the nice pure carrot flavor, celery flavor, onion flavor.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I'm going to start with carrots first. When you're sauteing, you always want to go with the hardest vegetable first, or the one that's going to take the longest to cook. So we're going to get that guy in there. Got a little piece of butter stuck there. And then we'll go with celery and onions. So
Okay.
you could just go with little celery half moons or rainbows like this. I personally don't like huge chunks of celery. I don't know why. I just never have.
Yeah.
Similarly, in my like tuna salad and such. So I always cut it down into a nice 2-inch, 3-inch stick, and then cut batons and just do a little dice on it. So like
I
getting
think that's
down.
good. Yeah, I like the celery just kind of be there, not be the
Yep, yep. Now
not
another thing you could do is you take these sticks like this. And Jason, I don't think you can see my device camera, but lay it down
I can,
so the rainbow is down, and then smash it, and then you get a nice little flat. You kind of break it down a little bit more, and then you actually get a little bit more of the juices out quicker, and that kind of
that's a really good idea.
gets everything going. It's kind of like smashing your
Yeah.
garlic.
Yeah.
Woo.
All right.
All right, so get these all diced, get it all in there. And so for the sake of saving time too, I know some people will give me crap for this, but I like my garlic minced already in a jar. I don't mind it. For certain
Okay.
things, I definitely still go for fresh garlic. Things where you're gonna you really want that fresh garlic flavor and that spice a little
Yeah.
bit. But for soups, honestly, I'm good with just minced garlic. Saves me a little extra time, and Costco has huge things of it.
Nice.
So
Nice.
we're gonna go with a scoop of that. Get some garlic in there. Although we're actually gonna wait, so let me bring it over here. Get everything sauteing. We got it on about a medium high heat, and we'll let that sweat. Let's go ahead and get the onions in there too.
All right.
And while that's cooking, we'll get the chicken peeled and pulled apart. Like I
Okay.
said, we've done a rotisserie chicken on here before for the chicken masala.
Yeah.
And so I won't spend too much time on it, but a couple of things. So like I bought this last night, threw it in the fridge. See all this jelly here? This is delicious
That
chicken
is, yeah,
juice.
don't throw that
Yeah,
away.
do not. Yeah, and like there's a little bit in the bag here too, right? Don't
Mm-hmm.
let that go to waste. So we're gonna pour that in here
Uh-uh.
because we'll pour it off the pan and make sure we use that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, typically I would
Oh, yeah.
use some homemade chicken stock, but I just don't. I just ran out actually. Actually, in our household, I don't really do. I do a blonde stock and a brown stock,
Okay.
but oftentimes it's just a blend of bones. So I'll do my blonde with like pork and chicken and whatever I have
Oh,
on hand,
nice.
and then I'll do my brown stock with any beef bones that I have. And so on that
Okay.
note, while we're pulling this apart, I typically save the bones and set that aside too.
Yep.
So let me grab a bowl to put the chicken in.
And
So
then
I
do you
always,
usually make your stock right away when you pull it, or do you just
no,
stick it in the freezer and then?
yep, exactly. I take a gallon Ziploc and
Yeah.
I just keep saving that in the deep freeze and keep adding to it, and then
Yeah.
do one big batch. So, all right.
Okay.
Jason, looks like your phone turned off.
Yeah, I got a phone call coming in here. I need to.
That's cool. I'll just
There
switch
we
real
go.
quick. All right.
Okay, I think
Okay. So yeah. So I always start by just pulling the lower quarter off. So you got the leg and the thigh here, and then I'm gonna peel the skin off. Um,
we're. Oh, Jimmy, I think we lost audio on you, or at least I did. Oh, oh, technology. Right. Am I still connected? Yep. Sorry, folks, if you can hear one of us here. We're trying to figure out our audio issues here. Funny how that. Hear you. Yep, there you are.
There we are. I cut to the title screen, so we're offline for a second.
Oh.
All right, we are. I gotta change.
So we took a quick commercial break.
All right, we are back from our commercial break.
All right, we took a quick commercial break there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna keep going. I lost my mic on me. We have some new mics that are in the office as of yesterday, so we'll get those going.
All right.
But so continuing on, I'm just gonna peel all this meat off.
Okay. Just kind of giving an update here on my side. I've kind of turned the heat down. Our soup came up to a boil. Now I'm turning it down. Now we've got a nice little simmer going here. Our vegetables are breaking down nicely. The liquid is thickening up from the squash. I just gave it a taste a couple minutes ago, and we really have a good balance of all those flavors. But those will definitely change as we puree our soup here. So we're going to go that route there. So, all right. So as Jimmy's finishing up there, I'm going to go ahead and do up this little crab salsa here really quick.
Oh yeah,
so,
crab salsa sounds delicious.
Yeah, so I'm just going to take a couple of cloves of garlic here. We'll do our little de-skinner here, and okay, boom! Look at that! Yay! It's all nice and clean up there.
I need to get one
all right, and then do my fancy little smush here, the garlic. All right, and same thing on this other one. Kind of run our knife through it here a couple of times. Chop, chop, chop. All right, we'll throw that into our bowl. Okay. I like to take, and all these ingredients that I'm using are going to be raw. Nothing's going to be cooked on this. So we'll take our shallot here, and I was never really great at mincing a shallot, so I just kind of get it to where I need it and then kind of chop it a little bit. That's okay. All right, so we'll kind of cut it a couple times through here. This is kind of where I do the radial cut here, like you would on an onion. And right, we'll cut those in little tiny pieces there. We want our shallots to be really small. There, okay. That's turned out pretty well. So throw that in the bowl as well. Nice, cut up some more of this stuff here. Okay, watch those fingers. All right, and then I'm gonna take some little sweet cherry peppers. And I like these because of the tang that they give the crab, and it kind of goes really, really well with that butternut squash. So I'm going to, plus it's a really beautiful red color in there. So we'll take out the seeds here. I'm going to wash these out really quick. And on these guys, we just want to chop them up. We don't have to have pretty little dices or anything like that on there. So I'm just going to cut these kind of into strips. And turn them in and cut them into little dice here. Oh man, these can be good. All right, we'll throw those in the bowl. All right, we don't have any kind of mayonnaise product or any kind of other binder in here with this. It's just all these ingredients mixed together here. So, all right, now I'm going to take some parsley here. All right, we'll chiffonade up some parsley, just a little bit, add some white green color. You notice I'm putting all of this stuff together without the crab in there because we want to mix all of this up first, that we get all this distributed, and then we'll fold in our crab. That way we have nice big pieces of crab to put into our soup.
Similar to when we were doing the crab cakes. You're
essentially
right. Like making the dressing for the crab, and then you just want to lightly toss it.
That's exactly right. All right, so this lemon has some seeds in it, so I just need to get a little strainer here. All right, just want to kind of squeeze our lemon juice in here. All right, there we go, in case we get any seeds that fall out. All right, we can set that aside. Okay, and we'll season this up here to begin with. Just a little bit of salt and pepper. You might need to come back to that later on. All right, we just kind of mix all this stuff up. We have this beautiful bright colors of red and green. Some garlic in there. All right. All right, now we take our crab. I'm using jumbo lump again. I'm going to just put it out on a cutting board here. Okay, we kind of gently break it apart.
And when you're breaking apart, you're kind of picking through feeling the shells too, right?
What's that, Jay?
So while you're breaking it apart, you're kind of picking through and feeling for shells too, correct?
Oh, yeah, yep. That's exactly right. So we want to go through here, and we definitely want to check for any kind of shells, and I'll kind of go through, break it up a little bit here. Some of these nice little bigger, some of these bigger pieces. We definitely want to keep those whole. Throw those in as well. Okay, Jimmy, how you doing over there? You all right?
Yeah, doing pretty good. So just quick update.
Okay.
Add a little salt and pepper. Same thing. Function kind of sweat it out. My veggies are starting to soften up. My chicken's ready to go. Made sure I got all the gelatin in there. And then the recipe calls for boxes of stock. Again, usually I make my own, but today I have some bouillon, so better than bouillon. This stuff is great when it comes to chicken bases. And so now that we're going to bring you over here, due to our audio issues, I neglected my pot for a little bit, so I got a little color, but that's all right. And I think we'll be okay with that.
Oh yeah.
Still gonna have some really good flavors in there. And so now that we have all the veg done, we're just gonna pour in our and
kids are home.
Up on some of the veg.
All right.
Because I like all that extra veg. Add a little extra water. All right, so we'll let that come up to a boil. And where are you at now, Jason?
So I am just getting ready to stir up this crab salsa here. So again, just want to kind of a fold. We start on kind of on the outside and work our way to the inside. We turn our bowl and we fold in all of our ingredients together. And you see how now we're intermixing that red and green in there. This is really going to stand out and really going to pop in our soup here. So, all right. Now we don't want to stir it vigorously. We just want to gently combine all of this stuff. That way it just comes together. Okay. Now we need to give it a little taste here. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Man, I love the flavor of crab. That's good. All right. I think we're good, too, on the sodium part of that. So we're good on that.
All right.
Ooh, nice little shot of shallot there. That's good. All right. So, Jimmy, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my pot here. Just because from cooking butternut squash before I know that it's done and ready to go. So we've simmered that for about 15 minutes here. So now I'm going to definitely go through and just check. And our pieces are nice and soft. Nice and soft. All right. So now this is where I pull out my sachet, but because my sachet is made of cheesecloth, it absorbs some liquid, so we want to squeeze all that stuff out of there. Let's use a pair of tongs and squeeze it out. There we go. Okay, we'll set it off to the side. Now we can cut that twine. Okay. Cut the twine there. Now we can discard our sachet there. See it all one package straight in the trash there. All right. Now we need to bring it over to the blender. And here's where I wouldn't pour the entire pot into the blender. It would definitely, man, I can really smell those spices in there. It smells so good. So what I'll do is I've got a 6-ounce ladle. You can use like a 1-ounce measuring cup. I don't have a 6-ounce ladle. Maybe it's in the dishwasher here. Somewhere around here. Well, okay, I'm gonna have to use a measuring cup. So, my one cup measuring cup doesn't have a handle on it. It's kind of weird. But anyway, it broke off. Okay, so we'll take our measure cup here. We're just gonna kind of load up our blender, and I'm gonna do this right over the same pot that I'm cooking in. Okay. I'm going to strain out as much of the liquid here as I can. I'll show you all what the liquid look like after it's cooked, because we had some of that evaporation going, right? So now we start out with, we poured 1 quart of chicken stock into the liquid or into the pan, right? And so now we've got maybe half of that left. But again, a lot of it absorbed into the squash. Some of it evaporated. Some of it ended up in the blender there whenever I added the pulp there. But all right, let's see. I'll go ahead and now I can pour this into here. Turn my computer here so we're looking at the blender here. All right, so we'll pour that in. Now this guy's filled all the way to the top, so this is really where we need to be cautious of making sure we've got a very hot liquid that produces pressure because of the steam in it. Okay, it's almost filled up to the top there, right? I've got a little stick here so that way it kind of pushes, it kind of gives something, the blender turns the product against this stick here, and that's what helps this particular blender blend well. So firm hand down on there. Let me go ahead and get a towel. My pot is on top of it. I'm just going to go ahead and cover this whole thing. All right. And because I've got the variable speed, I'm going to go on low here and just gradually turn up the blender. All right. And it doesn't need to be completely smooth, but you definitely want to break down a lot of those bigger chunks. Okay, and the roasting and the cooking in the liquid, that is definitely going to help with that. Okay. All right. We'll let this blend for about 10 or 15 seconds. We'll check the consistency, see if that's where we want it. All right, let's check our consistency now. Oh, yeah, I think we're good. Oh, yeah. That's going to be good, man. Okay, I'll throw this over here. All right. So now, before I pour it, yeah, we're going to end up putting this back into our pot because we're going to add half and half to it. And then half and half will kind of thin it out a little bit, and it'll kind of give us creaminess as well. We want the pot completely clean. Okay, so now we have, it has a nice consistency to it. All right. Okay, so I'm going to pour that back into our pot. Try to get as much out of there as you possibly can. All right, now we'll put this back on the heat. We'll add our half and half to it and just bring it up just under a boil because we don't want to cook that half and half too much there. Okay, so here I'm going to add about half, I'll start with like a quarter cup of half and half. So pull out the quarter cup. Okay. We'll start with that. We'll see where we need to go. Now it's just kind of fine tuning this soup. All right, so now we stir that in, and of course now we've got a nice, it kind of thins it out a little bit, brightens it up. Okay. And then we'll season it, and we'll see where we're at. Okay, taste this here. So I can really taste the cinnamon. I can taste a little bit of that nutmeg in there. Definitely taste the ginger. Got a nice little thyme background. So we're going to throw in a little bit of salt. I don't mind using black pepper. Some people might prefer to use white pepper in this kind of application. I don't mind the black.
Sorry for
the reason I say that is some people don't want to see black spots in their, in their soup like this, but I prefer using black pepper. White pepper has a manure taste to me. I don't like it. So, and I mean that by like when you smell manure, you can kind of taste it. Yeah. Does that make sense? Taste the way it smells. All right. So we're just starting to bubble. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this down to just above low. We're going to keep that warm until we plate up. I might even check the consistency again, maybe add a little bit more half and half. Okay. But that soup is done. We just need to plate it up and add some crab to it. Jimmy, how you looking?
All right. So I got to talk to the computer here because my microphone went out. So I'm going to tell you everything I'm doing over here and then go do it over there and you can watch.
Okay.
But what we're looking at is, if you can see, the soup is at a boil. If you need to get to a boil quick, put the lid on it, turn it on high. That'll keep all the heat in and it gets hot faster. So then I'm ready to go with the biscuits. So I don't know if you saw, but I opened up just a can of biscuits. You probably heard it on the camera. Laid them out, and just to make it easier to cut, I lay them all out in a line and cut them like this. And we're cutting each piece into 9. So for each biscuit, we do 2 cuts one way, and then 2 cuts another way. And then we have nice little, super easy, super quick dumplings for the soup. Now, again, the recipe called for 1 can. I know our family loves dumplings. This might be too much, but I'm going to throw it in there and see anyways. So.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to hop over and do that. You can't hear me too well while I'm over there, so Jason, I'll throw it back over to you. You can watch me what I'm doing. Oh, one other thing. So this lemon juice here. So I went ahead and tasted it. Everything tastes good, but I always like a little bit of acid in my soups, whether it's a vinegar or lemon juice or something.
Yeah.
Something to just kind of brighten things up. And so I'm going to
Yeah,
use
you bet.
This lemon juice again from Costco. We're big Costco shoppers. And just maybe like a couple tablespoons in there just to kind of brighten up the flavor. So I'm going to do that now and then throw in the biscuits, and then we're pretty much done.
Okay, so over here on this side, I'm going to turn my my computer screen down here so you can see the bowl plate we're plating up. Okay, so those are not hot. Now, one thing you have to be careful with pureed soups is there's a lot of surface area in contact with a very hot bottom. So you start getting those. But same thing happens with like tomato soup or tomato sauce. And what happens is you create hot spots in there. So then when you go to stir it, you just stir up those hot spots and they explode all over the place. So just let that heat settle down for a little bit, and then kind of gently stir, stir your soup, but start on the surface of the soup and then work your way down through the soup. Then you won't disturb those hot spots as bad, and you definitely don't want this stuff to stick on you. That would definitely ruin your experience with the soup here. So, okay, so we've got a really good consistency. We want to be able to hold up our crab, so we want the soup to kind of hold up our crab salsa. Okay, we're not going to sprinkle this throughout the soup. We're going to do a nice little clump right in the middle. And so we want that to really stand in our soup. Okay. So we want that thickness in there. All right. I can't find my 6-ounce ladle, so I'll have to do a couple of 2-ounces here, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to slide this over here, and we'll just. Now, soups, you want about 6 ounces per person, maybe 8, something like that. This bowl is really huge for this. That's okay. We'll do 10 in here, I guess. All right, and then I'll take a little ice cream scoop again. I'll just kind of gently make a little ball here with this. All right. That's about how much crab salsa you want in there, something like that. All right. We can just put it right on top of our soup here. Now, salsa is cold, so you could, if you wanted it warm, you could have it. You could heat it up like in a nonstick saute pan, or even microwave it or something. But we'll kind of spread this out here a little bit. And then one thing I like doing with puree soups kind of adds to the soup is you use an extra virgin olive oil. This is just a grapeseed oil, right? But I just put a quick swirl around in there. Kind of adds to the effect of the soup there. Get our soup spoon out. All right. So now, can we see that? Okay. Or here, I'll tell you what. Let me go to Skype on here. There it is. Now we've got our pureed butternut squash soup. Our crab salsa there.
There we go.
Yummy.
Turn your camera.
Can't wait to taste that. All right. So Jimmy's finishing up his. I'll taste this and file here this stuff. So.
All right, so I'm going to open up the lid on mine just so you can see the dumplings cooking. But so you see they expand in there pretty good. You don't want to mess with them too much, because as you start to mess with them, before they set, you'll just kind of stretch the dough around and move it around. And so using the biscuits like this and cooking it this way, you get some of the starch coming off of the biscuits, and it helps thicken the soup that's in there too. And so you want to cover it and let it sit, and let those biscuits really set really well. And then once they're done, then we can start putting the chicken in there. And so again, sorry, because of technical difficulties, I missed showing you. I also put a little bit of poultry seasoning in the liquid too, right before I put the biscuits in.
Yum.
Get that flavor in there. And so as soon as those are done, we'll put the chicken in there, and then we're good to go.
Okay.
We're getting a little
I like that poultry seasoning. That's really great. I mean, it reminds me of Thanksgiving, right? I really like that flavor. But all right, so over here we're on our butternut squash soup. It's got a great texture to it. It's nice and smooth, but it still has a little bit of chunkiness to it, which is good. It has that, the richness from when we started all the vegetables in the butter. Again, I can taste that nutmeg. I can taste, and just a little bit, but I can definitely taste that cinnamon. And then the crab is kind of by itself. It's fun. It adds a little bit of texture there to the soup. But again, I like jumbo lump crab, and I can eat that stuff by itself. It's good. So I'm just going to stir this throughout the rest of the soup here. We will enjoy dinner tonight. It'll be good. Okay, so next week, we're going to be talking about some holiday sides, right? I think we've got a cranberry relish in there. It's a really easy, fresh cranberry relish. Doesn't come out of a can. Actually uses green apples, cranberries, a little bit of orange. It has some sugar in there, and I believe it has a little bit of orange juice as well. But we're going to end up putting that through our food grinder, so it makes this really, really fresh, so yummy cranberry sauce. And then, what else? Oh, we're going to do a caramelized onion gravy. It's one of my favorite things. Just kind of an alternative to your traditional turkey gravy, or you can add it to your turkey gravy if you wanted to, but it is really delicious. Goes amazing on some potatoes. And then I think we're going to try to get some Pecan Pie Cups in there. Last year we did a Let's Talk Turkey workshop on campus, and it actually just kind of happened on the spot. We just made some pecan pie cups that turned out really, really delicious. So we'll talk about how you turn a can of sweetened condensed milk into a caramel sauce, and then you add that to the pecans. Kind of make like a traditional pecan pie filling. Put those in your cups and bake them. They turn out really, really good. So, and I think that's all we're doing, right, Jimmy? Do we have anything else? Or?
Yep, I think that's about it. And so we're going to be putting another video out there. It won't be live, but we're doing a fall food basket for our student care center. We talked a little bit about that last week with Alicia. So we're actually going to do a special video cooking with the kit that we're going to be sending out to students in need that need these food kits for the holidays. So we'll publish that just as a video on Facebook and on YouTube, but definitely check that out. And for any of you students out there who are getting one of the kits, we'll have a landing page for you to go to with all the recipes that we have. And we're going to kind of play around with some of the stuff that'll be in the food kit and get creative with it. So everybody else can watch that too, but it just won't be live. And then yeah, so I got my chicken dumplings right here. I finally get to eat.
Oh,
Yeah,
yay!
this is definitely one of my
Man,
favorite things. It's so hot though. I don't think I'm gonna take a bite
super hot. Yeah.
yet.
I know you get that brothy soup and you get some of those dumplings in there.
Yeah,
Whew,
yep, yep. So
screaming.
yeah, and because I added so many dumplings, it's definitely more of a chicken and dumplings rather than chicken dumpling soup.
Soup.
But
You know,
if you go down to Mississippi, it's more of a like a mat like a plate full of chicken and dumplings rather than a bowl full of chicken dumpling soup. So
oh man. Yeah,
I'm gonna try it.
so is that something that you eat like down there? Is that seasonal or is that year round? So, I mean, I would imagine that
It's year round.
hot summer day in Mississippi, I don't know that I want to eat a plate of chicken and dumplings, but
Well,
you know,
I do. In
yeah.
Louisiana, you eat
Well,
gumbo
I
all
really,
year.
I really like pho too, and I'll eat pho when it's 100 degrees outside. So, or if it's -5, it doesn't matter. I'll eat it either way. So
All right. Well, I think we're a little over time, but
good.
I think
Okay.
we'll sign off. So stay safe and stay rowdy. We'll see you next week.
There you go. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for joining.